Hello, my name is Jason JROCK Houston. You guys are listening to an interview being done tonight for Chaotic Riffs Magazine. We can, of course, be found on the web at www.chaoticriffs.com. And tonight's my great pleasure to be speaking with lead singer Norman Matthew of the Dallas-based metal band Murder FM. How you doing tonight, Norman?
Good, man. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
Now, I'd like to start the interview off by asking you, because I don't know too much about your band. I got to be honest, I never heard of a band until your publicist sent me a little press release about your upcoming album. So, what year were you guys first formed?
We were formed at the beginning of time. Around 2009 is when we started.
Okay, yeah.
But we really kind of came into being the band that we are now around 2013 because the material that I had for the first Murder FM record was written into the band I was in before that called Never Enough with Keith and Trevor from ET Visions and Throwdown. So I released that record on Glass Tone Records.
Okay.
Producer Bo Hill is like my mentor of sorts in the production world, and he really encouraged me to get some of that material out. So in that process, we were kind of putting the live band together to pull it off live. Our bass player J6 had come up with the name Matt Through, our guitarist. I stole him from another band that I was producing at the time.
Wow.
And just kind of, it took a couple of years to really get our bearings, so to speak, you know what I mean? Because I really wanted the band to grow live, sonically, aesthetically, and really kind of grow into who we are. You know, so we hit our stride with our new drummer, Jason Shakes West.
Wow.
Stole from Wednesday 13, and that's kind of why I mark like 2013.
Wow.
It's really more of the Murder FM that you know now. You know, we weren't in a real rush to get anywhere when we first started.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of interesting because, you know, in preparing for the interview, I went online and I checked out the video you guys have up there for Machine Gun Kiss, and I was trying to think, you know, who do they sound like, and a little bit of that, I thought, okay, this is what Motorhead would sound like if they had melody. I actually thought, you know, it sounds like a cross between Motorhead and, you know, Murder Dolls. So it's kind of interesting that you got your drummer from Wednesday 13. How did you manage to, you know, get him away from Wednesday?
Right?
Yeah.
I don't. It's a tricky question because he played for Murder Dolls as well.
Well, yeah. And
he was. But the ironic part was Shakes was the first drummer that we had wanted in the band when we started the band, and I was turned on to him by our bass player J6. He was friends with him in San Antonio.
Oh, wow.
You got to check out this drummer, like he's amazing. So I checked him out. We saw him at a show, and it was just like that's our guy. But he was touring, I think, at that point with like Sebastian Bach.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, right? I'm like, yeah, we can't really compete with that. Sebastian Bach opened for Guns N' Roses in Europe, or come play with our band for like 10 people a night and rough it. Yeah, Future was into it, you know, which he wasn't. Fair enough.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
we kind of kept in touch over the years, man. And the opening just presented itself. Wednesday was taking some time off tour. Murder FM had a lot of stuff coming up with Pop Evil, Deftones, Drowning Pool, Pretty Reckless, Five Finger Death Punch, and so we had a chance to really gel as a band. And I think that was kind of the moment that it worked for him because not to say that Wednesday doesn't treat him like a band member.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just because, like I said, we marked 2013 is really kind of the beginning of the band.
Okay.
He really was the foundation of when the band took the next step. So he was an integral part of the band kind of getting over that hump, you know what I mean, getting to where we are now. And he's treated that way, you know, and I write the songs and I record a lot of the stuff, but everyone's equal in this band, and there's no way that we could kind of pull it off without one another, especially live, you know, obviously. I mean, physically we can't, but the dudes just bring things to the table that, you know, I by myself just can't do. And I guess Shakes just kind of felt that was the right place for him in the right time, and he's been Wednesday long enough, because we were able to kind of, you know, just maneuver him away to the band.
I guess there's something to be said for the fact that, like, even playing,
Definitely wasn't the money.
yeah, I mean, even having a major gig like that with somebody like Sebastian or Wednesday, you know, there's something to be said for that. You know, you're kind of like a side musician in some other guy's band. Where a band like Murder FM, like you said, it's kind of you know, everybody's kind of got an equal say. So he might feel more like an actual band member as opposed to, you know, the drummer in Wednesday 13 solo band. You know.
Definitely. I mean, and we know, and he knew that, and we've always tried to make, you know, each other feel special, not only as musicians, but as band members and friends. And I remember there was a point in time we were on the road in March, and Sebastian Bach was, like, calling him. I mean, we were, like, in the hotel in, like, Oklahoma City or something, and he had us on speakerphone, and there was, like, Sebastian in the back going, shit! Like, trying to get him back on tour with him. And I was like, oh man, Shakes is going to take off with this dude. Like, here we go. You have another drummer. Got on another one. And he declined that tour, man. It was crazy. And I think it was just, we aren't as chaotic as most rock and roll bands.
Wow, so,
we don't know how to live that lifestyle, so to speak. And even on a business level, everything is, you know, at least so far, is within our grasp. But things are really out of control. So, it's just much more organized, I think, for everybody, especially where we're at in our own lives.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So let me ask you now. That answers about you know, you and Jason, but as far as the other guys in the band, are these guys you knew from you know, other bands playing the Dallas music scene, or did you find them through ads, or how did you find the other guys?
I've known J6, our bassist, since I was 16 years old.
Wow.
My first band, I was playing with some older dudes, and so we did our first Texas tour. Like, jumped in my friend Mike's Bronco and toured Texas in the summer, you know, like hit every city that we possibly could. And I met Jay in San Antonio playing shows with the White Rabbit. And we just became friends, and we had always kind of wanted to be in a band together. But the opportunities just weren't there. He was in another band that he signed to, I can't even think of the label right now. And so they were off and doing their thing. He's a couple years older than me, so he had the opportunity to go off and do that, where I was still in high school, you know, I had a couple more years to go. Plus, we had like 600 miles between us, you know. If you want to be in a band with your buddy, but you can't even get a ride to the mall at 16 years old, so getting to San Antonio to be in a band with him was just impossible. We always stayed in touch. And Matt, our guitar player, he and I were really, really good friends. And that's when I was producing his band's record. And it just all kind of came together. You know, Jay had asked me if I would play guitar for a reunion show with one of the bands that he was in, but their original guitar player couldn't do it. So I was like, absolutely, man. So flew out to the rehearsals. That was our first chance to really be on stage together. And that was when we just decided to do the band. You know, he was like, I've always had this band name. I was like, that's great. You know, and it was actually Murder Fucking Music.
Oh, okay.
We realized in our marketing genius that that was absolutely nowhere. We tightened it up to Murder FM, so you know, anyone that's familiar with the band or has heard the band name always thinks it's some sort of a relation to radio, but it actually isn't.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you say that, because I was trying to think. You know, the name alone, I just love the sound of Murder FM. I was trying to think, even, you know, all day before I was going to get a chance to talk to you about it. It was like, wow, what are they saying? Okay, they're killing FM radio, or, you know, or their stuff's all over FM radio. You know,
and at the time, you know, we were kind of like, we weren't really pleased, as cliche as it would sound, with the way, like, the state of the music scene was. You know what I mean? And it's still kind of what fuels our band now. Like, we grew up on big hooks and big drums, and you know, Murder FM's made to be in arenas, not because it's like, oh, we should be a big band. Just the sound is big, like the idea behind it is big. Lyrically, like, not very deep at all. It's just about, you know, piecing some great lyrics together, a catchy phrase, and a cool riff, and like really just having fun with things again, you know. And so we were missing that, you know, in bands. You know what I mean? Like, it became an evil or a sin in a way to be like, oh yeah, I like this band. I heard them on the radio.
I mean, Murder.
They're great bands and great songs, you know.
I mean, Murder FM, especially when you spell out exactly what it means. I mean, that is like just, as you say, marketing genius, because I don't think anybody off the top of their head is going to think that that's what it means. And when people realize that, they're going to say, oh man, yeah, that is really some cool marketing, you know. And I mean, even once people hear what it is, they're going to still be talking about, you know, what geniuses you guys are for just the name alone.
Well, you know, another thing that we wanted, again, coming from the arenas, growing up, was that we wanted a name you could chant, you know? Like, there was all these stupid band names coming out that absolutely make no sense. And not that ours does either, but it's like, how do you chant that, like, at a show? So I was like, MFM, that's beautiful. Like, doesn't get any more rock and roll than that. And you know, and I think this, why your band seems to be working, like you said,
it seems like you guys have a all for one attitude where, like you said, we're all equal partners. Everybody gets an equal say, because these are guys that you actually grew up with. Most of them, and they're your friends. You've been wanting to play together all these years, and you finally get the chance to, as opposed to being a band with a bunch of guys that you just got their names through an ad or something, and meeting them for the first time, and everybody's trying to see who can write the most hits or something. I think that's why your band works, is because you guys were friends first before you ever played together.
Yeah, definitely, and it transcends life without a doubt. Because the thing with our band, man, is that we enjoyed playing music regardless where it was going to go. I have always said I want to be in a big band. I want to be in a successful band. Like, I have never been shy about that. I don't know when that became a bad thing to be like, hell yeah, we want to make boatloads of money, sell a ton of records.
Who doesn't, right? Right?
I'm like, I'm all about it. So bring it. You know what? You guys don't do it, but we are. but at the core, we really loved playing music. I mean, there's so many times we've just gotten excited watching each other on stage, not even realizing that there was a show going on. And our band, for us, is a symbol out of our dream band. That it was like, we're playing with our buddies, we got the drummer that we want. Jay and Matt were fans of the band that I was in before, Never Enough, and I was a fan of Matt's band, which is why I chose to produce it. And I've always been great friends with J6, and I was a fan of Shake's work and all the records that he's played on. So you kind of bundle all those things together, and it's like, we can't see past the first row of people half the time anyways, and we really, it's very hard for people to believe that grown men can just be psyched on playing for the mere fact of playing.
Yeah, I mean,
but it really is. We kind of drop the ulterior motives, and what's funny is when we stopped giving a shit in that regard. Is when the business really started to pick up for the band. When it was just like, I don't care, we're just gonna do it because we want to. Like when we stopped having an end game, that's when it took off.
And the beautiful thing about that is, success means different things to people. But I mean, even talking to you, number one, I can hear the gratitude you have, and the love of what you're doing, and second, you have the gratitude for whatever success comes your way. But you didn't get it, through lack of hard work and dedication. Things are starting to pay off for you guys, and how great is it to be at a this place in your life where how many people can say I actually have a job I enjoy going to. You guys get up there entertaining people, but this is what you do. You're not, and I don't know if you do or don't, but I'm guessing you don't have to for much longer have a 9-to-5 job. I mean, like you said, things are starting to happen for a band, and you may not be as big a band as say like Motley Crue or Bon Jovi, but you're well on your way, and even if you don't get to that point, I mean, look how far you've come with this so far, and there's something to be said for that.
Yeah, and we just, like I said, we've always done our thing, man, and I've never had a 9-to-5 job. I refuse to. I never will. I opened a music school called the Sound Foundation, and we do artist development.
Wow.
And a recording studio, and I produce a ton of bands, and it's kind of like, if I'm not playing music in my own band, I'm helping people reach their dreams, helping, young kids learn, just trying to do all sorts of things in music to always keep it going. So every day I make music, whether it's Murder FM, someone else's band in the studio. It just was like I didn't give myself a backup plan so that I would be immersed in music 24/7. And I think that's another core thing that again really transcends. It's like you really live and breathe music, and for all the right reasons. Not for the chicks, not for the money, not for the drugs. The pure fact that we love music, Speaking of Motley Crue, Tom Lee did a remix on our record. So there's those kinds of crazy things that start to happen to the band. We've got Will from Evanescence who did a guest appearance playing drums on the track Happily Ever After.
Wow.
It's trippy. I mean, to think like I was a fan of these dudes. Evanescence, our day, Bo Hill, who's my production mentor, but he sold like 50 million records. Produced Rat, Clapton, Warren, Alice Cooper. You're just like, dude, it's heavy. You know what I mean? And we're able to work with people on that level because they respect and see the fact of we love music and we love what we do, regardless of what happens at the end of the day.
Yeah, no,
let's. You know we're not counting the numbers. We're not counting the views. We're loving it, dude.
So let me ask you, how did you get the opportunity to, first of all, to work with Tommy, or because like you said, there's a song on here that he actually remixed, and I was first of all curious why it was that song that he chose, or you guys chose to have him remix, and none of others. I guess it was We the Evil.
Right, we didn't ask him to. That was the weirdest part. Our A&R at the label was friends with him, and he was, talking about the band, just generally kind of doing the whole, trying to get some juice and some traction within the industry, and, people in the network, And Tommy seemed to really latch on to the songs, and I guess somewhere in the mix, jokingly, someone had said, yeah, dude, you should totally do one of your Tommy Lee, Methods of Mayhem, electronic kind of remixes.
Yeah.
And he was all about it.
Wow.
And so our A&R guy called me, he's like, hey, I need you to send me some tracks for Tommy, now. I'm driving, in detail of Dallas, in traffic, stuck, what? You know what I mean? I'm not even in the studio. So, of course, I cut through traffic like a maniac.
Yeah.
And in the blink of an eye, it's my inbox was coming in with emails from Tommy Lee and voicemails from Tommy Lee, and next thing I know, I've got a track from Tommy Lee, and we're talking every other day about our kid recording and whatever, He's like, you got a 1-year-old little boy. I saw him on Instagram, drums, that's epic. You know what I mean? I'm as a gift, and it's what? How did my life get to this point? This is awesome.
Yeah, wow. And and you said
I think it's a big part too, man. To go back to an earlier question, I think a big part of our band being the band that we are, and really, carrying the flag for the things that we do and playing a certain way, is that I was signed to a big label when I was 20 years old, and we got screwed by that. So you fast forward 8-9 years, you learn a lot of things along the way. And when you learn along the way, you start to respect and appreciate things a lot more. And our band had to fight and claw and play every grommet tour in the world.
Wow.
And, every mile in the country, we had to get where we had to be from, A to B, and barely having enough gas money, funding our own records, all those sorts of things. So when we go out and play, dude, we enjoy every minute of it. Not even just because it's fun, but because it was we worked our asses off to be here. You better get out of the way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and so how do you have people typically in that experience, they go one of two ways, kind of the way you've gone, or typically they get angry and bitter because their past experience. What's kept you going after having such a rough period, back in the day, early on in your career?
What's kept me going is, one, again, the pure love of music, man. I got into it when I was 4 or 5 years old, being kids, and it was just that wasn't going to change ever. My family plays music. My brother's the touring guitarist for John Fogerty. I've got a cousin that plays in the country band Rascal Flatts. It's just the way that it is for our family. It's not going to change.
Wow.
The fact that I'm just stubborn as hell.
That's great.
I'm gonna do this.
I love that attitude.
That I can't now. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm gonna do this for no other reason to say I did it.
Yeah.
You said I couldn't.
I love that attitude. In fact, I was just going to say, Murder FM has got to be the biggest FU as far as the success you're having to all those people that ever tried to get in your way or stop you from having any kind of a career.
Oh, most definitely, man. I mean, we came, from a small town. I was born and raised in El Paso, and it's a big city, but there's no music scene, and there was a handful of bands that came out, like Pissy Razors. Me and the dudes from Half the Drive-In went to high school at the same time together, and we were buddies, and we played shows together, and they morphed into Mars Volta and Sparta and whatever the hell they are now. But the thing was we didn't, what makes kind of our music, we're not unique, dude, you can't reinvent the wheel. We just put a spin on it, but the thing was, we didn't have anyone to copy growing up, other than the bands that we saw, or that we were fed in magazines and Headbangers Ball and Rip Magazine. But it was we didn't have clubs to go to, so everything that kind of came out of us was just 100% organic and natural. So we never really learned the right or wrong way to do something, and we just did it. So it was we didn't have clubs to play to go watch other bands. It was just kind of let's throw a backyard show and play for our friends and see what happens, and so that kind of work ethic and that kind of mentality and that kind of psychology just kind of grew with you and stuck with you. You know, that it was like we're the same now. You know, I approach things the same way. Like, I don't care what's new and trendy. I don't care what's old and burnt out. It's just like, I'm going to turn on my guitar and I'm going to write this song, and fuck it, you don't like it, don't listen. You know?
Yeah, and I got to say that I think part of the reason, you know, your success is finally coming your way is because this is really music from your heart. And what I mean by that is, I think if you were a trend follower and you were just worried about, oh, we're going to put out, you know, what's hip these days, you know, it wouldn't come across as real. But that's why people are digging it, because this is stuff that is coming from, you know, your heart, so to speak. Even like I said earlier, I was looking at the video earlier today for Machine Gun Kisses, and it's just it reminded me a lot of stuff, you know, that I'm a fan of, like I said, Motorhead, Murder Dolls. But then again, I was listening to the track We the Evil, and they like two totally different sounds. So that's the cool thing about your band, is I think it's hard if anybody tried to pigeonhole you guys into one type of you know, you're definitely metal, and you know, there's definitely an industrial thing going on there, but no two songs that I've heard you know, on your site sound exactly alike, and I think that's a cool thing, you know, for the band and the fans.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, man, I try to write just songs, man. You know, a lot of We the Evil, that riff, Machine Gun Kisses, was written on an acoustic guitar.
Wow.
You know, it was like, it was all about 3 chords and the truth, so to speak, or whatever it was, and not necessarily speaking the truth about life, fun, just whatever was true at that moment to me, you know, and to my guitar player and I, when we put, you know, a song together, it was kind of like, this is just, it makes sense to us. I can sell this live because I feel it and I understand it, and you know what I mean? It's like method acting at its best.
Wow.
You know, when you watch that actor on screen, like, oh my God, they were amazing. Because they really felt that. And we're the exact same way with the tunes, you know, like, I don't care, I just do it.
And I got to ask you, Norman, I know you're also one of the guitar players in the band, so I was curious, did you start out, you know, as a guitar player first and then became a singer later on?
What was that?
Well, I was curious, so I know you also play guitar. I was curious, when you first started playing, did you start out as a guitar player first and then became a singer later?
No. Gotcha. Yeah, no, actually, when I saw Guns N' Roses, I wanted to be both. I wanted to be a vocalist and guitarist. It was like, I love Flash's voice, but at the same time, it was like I wanted to be a guitar player. I mean, I love that. So Flash's, wanted to be both of them in one. So I started with guitar, but at 6 years old was actually piano. And then all of that kind of morphed into playing in bands. And my drummer would lead his drum set behind, and I would go play drums, or tinker with bass and kind of figure that out. I set out not really knowing what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to do it all. And I wasn't really concerned with how I was going to get it done, you know? But because my dad played guitar, that was the first natural kind of like progression. I could sneak around and steal his and take his Marshall and plug into his, get the Gibson and just kind of do my thing, you know?
And
then from there, it was like, no one wanted to sing in all my high school bands. So I ended up being the singer. And it got to a point where it was like, shit, I might as well just get good at this, you know? And I eliminate when you go in the band. I'm able to write parts, you know, and really like fully think out a song, which is great. I'm not a jammer. You know, I have to kind of have some sort of blueprint and then move forward. It's very hard, you know, like, give me the black and white, we'll put it in color. But I need to know, you know, I don't go, hey, let's jam, dude. You know, I wish I could. I envy people that can, but I just can't do it. So yeah, man, it was guitar. I've always loved guitar. The vocal thing just kind of fell into my lap, and then learning how to do everything else kind of happened naturally. And that was my real love with Trent Reznor, because it's like, what? I can do a whole record by myself and just have a live band. This is amazing. Because it wasn't that I didn't want other band members. It was just that I could complete a vision in a sentence, and then have people behind me that believe in it. And go full throttle. This is even better. And the issues of putting the band together were so minute at that point, because it's like, hey man, this is the material, this is the band, this is the direction we're going. If you'd like to play in my band, that'd be awesome, dude. If you don't, that's cool too. But this is the way the train's going, jump on or get off. You know? And it made a lot of the early work once I figured that out
Yeah, but
easier, which is why we work that way now. You know what I mean? It's not that no one's ideas are good. It's just like, dude, awesome.
Yeah,
I can get behind that song as your bass player. So
yeah.
Go.
The reason I ask is because in listening to some of these tunes, you have a real natural, voice. I know a lot of guys typically start out as a guitar player, and you kind of have that, that piece of wood in your hand to stand behind, like a safety net. But when you first started singing and first decided you want to be a frontman, what was that experience like for you when you realized, okay, I'm a main guy, but everybody's looking as far as I'm the lead singer in the band. I'm the guy that has to communicate with the audience. That must have been an incredible feeling. And did it take you a while to get to the ability where you could feel comfortable in your ability to sing lead and play guitar at the same time? Because I understand that takes some getting used to.
It does, but I think for me, man, it was like destiny of sorts. We were playing like a backyard show or something, and the singer didn't want to show up. So I was like, I know the songs, I'll sing them, and it was like Alice in Chains stuff. And my friend sung backup, we thought we were laying in Jerry. And we just kind of went for it, man. But there was never a shaky moment, finding my voice, pitch, and character really kind of took some time to get to. But as far as like the fear and the getting over the hump, I mean, it was like instant, dude. It just felt
real natural.
Never felt that natural to me at that point. And I just kind of was never able to look back, And sometimes I wonder, I'm like, what happens if I could get a guitar player, found singers to work with or something, and then a Slash, and then I would have focused more on my lead playing rather than writing songs. But songs just kind of captivated me, man. Melodies, like putting something together from beginning to end, and like telling a story, just seemed to pull me in.
Yeah, I imagine.
In the long run, that I don't think I would have done well as just being a lead guitar player or being a rhythm guitarist in a band. Like, I'm not really good at taking the backseat on a lot of things.
Well,
I've got to be the driver, and even if I crash.
It seems to be working, and it seems to be working, and I think it's probably made you a better songwriter in the sense that I'd imagine if even still if you were the guy writing all the tunes and you had another guy coming in and singing your lyrics, so to speak, but there would be the chance that you might be a little more critical, whereas you're singing the lyrics you actually write, so you have a better idea in your head what the song is supposed to sound like. You can sing the song maybe with more feeling than some guy that didn't write the lyrics, so you're actually wrote these lyrics from your heart, so to speak, if you know what I mean. And so you're able to perform it I think much better than a guy that just is coming in singing your lyrics.
Yeah, and that's what I meant by eliminating the ego in a sense. It was like, I don't have to get over the hump of giving someone an idea and they don't like it just because human nature wants to go against the grain and say, oh, that idea is dumb, dude. Even if it's a great idea, so I'm able to work twice as much, and I'm a workhorse. That's what I do. I've got a studio, I've got a home studio. I could be sitting here with my little boy, who's a year old, and he's banging on drums, and I think of a guitar riff. I'm like, wow, I got a great idea for a song. Let's do it,
Yeah.
And it just kind of all comes together.
It's
just, again, I'm immersed in music all the time. I'm working with a young band, if they do something, and I'm like, ooh. It's not taking their idea, it's more like it ignites something in me for the band, or vice versa. I'm writing something for her FM, and I'm like, oh, this would be a great song for so-and-so that I'm working with, And my constantly stimulated, like my creativity is constantly always going, and because I was able to learn every instrument and be the singer, she was really helping me to write songs for a band.
Yeah, that's...
and not necessarily like the parts. Like, oh, this is my part. Or, oh, I like this, but it was like, geez, who cares? It's about the song.
Wow.
And so I was able to get over that hump as well.
Wow, that's...
It's hard enough to be in a band, and it's hard enough to try and make it, much less to collaborate. There has to be a mutual respect for people. There has to be a maturity. And there has to be a big picture and, like, understanding of the way things work.
So
you know what I mean? If you're just in it for the accolades and the credit, then you might as well like sign off now.
Well, that's
If you're in it because you want it to be like, oh, I write the songs, or I do this, I wrote that part. If people only knew some of the secrets, behind the curtains, you know what I mean? That it's like, that's your favorite bass player, you can play on that record. Or like for me, when I learned that Ace Frehley didn't do anything on certain parts of Kiss albums.
Creatures of the Night and stuff like that.
I was like, oh, place, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Good shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I was in love with the big picture.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. People have to learn, like, that.
Yeah, I mean,
We've got to realize
yeah.
about the big picture, dude. And if one of us does great, we all do great, you know?
Yeah, I mean,
again, jump on the train and roll.
I mean, I gotta tell you, I'm a major Kiss fan myself, and you know, and it's funny the stories that have come out, you know, since those albums were released. I mean, to come to find out, like, you know, Peter Criss only played on one song on Dynasty, and they had Bob Kulick come in and play some guitar, and you know, like Creatures of the Night, and on the studio tracks on Live too. And the funny thing is, back in the day, they hid all that stuff. But they're doing it like to, you know, protect their image and make people believe that, no, you know, all four guys were, you know, involved in the creation of this. And to a certain extent, I love it for that fact that, you know, there was that mystique and people didn't know, you know, as much of that stuff as they know today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now,
crazy is, like, I didn't run off and become a Bob Kulick fan.
Yeah.
It was still like, oh, okay, hey.
Yeah.
It was like, that's all that mattered.
Yeah, yeah.
I was in the Dynasty, and I was like, cool, like, that guy's like the Tonight Show drummer now,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Peter Criss, man, that's the way, dude. and that's because it's a consumer, and it's a fan.
Yeah.
You fell in love with the big picture.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and that's ultimately what people care about. You know, that's where the relation is made. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I love this band because the first time I heard this song, I was with this girl, or at this place, or 16 years old, or driving my first awesome car at 35, or whatever. You know what I mean? And you fall in love with that.
Yeah.
You really don't care about what's behind the curtain, man. Sometimes you don't want to know.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't, you know?
Yeah.
I don't want to know how things happen. Sometimes I just want to know what it is.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and getting back like to Tommy Lee, you mentioned about you were a bit of a fan of what he's done over the years, and Motley Crue. How cool would it be if you guys got the opportunity to, you know, open for him on their farewell tour?
Oh man, that would be great. Don't get me wrong, dude. I've mentioned him a few times already, and he has as well.
Yeah.
For us, he's a huge supporter of the band, and we've had a couple conversations where he's like, "Hey man, we need to do some shows together, dude. Like, this needs to happen." And you know, and our people are most definitely, you know,
in the talks,
make that happen, which would be great.
And
he's a huge supporter of the band, and he's definitely gonna pull something out for us, which is killer.
And as a Motley Crue,
he believes in what we're doing.
Wow.
He's excited that we're igniting that rock, bringing a rock, big, awesome sound again. You know?
Yeah. And as a Motley,
bringing something back, just kind of resurrecting a little CPR.
Yeah, there you go. And as a Motley Crue fan, what about you? What do you think about them? You know, calling a day after this tour?
You know, that's a bummer, man.
Yeah.
They have been around.
Yeah.
And if they want to go out on their own terms, I think that's always best for like a lot of bands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Stones were lucky until they're practically dying on stage.
Yeah. Wow.
But I feel like Motley Crue just isn't one of those bands. I think it could kill the mystique and everything about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear you.
It's kind of depressing to see Nikki Sixx with long gray hair. And thing,
Yeah.
And Tommy Lee with a gas mask next to him with Charlie Watts.
Yeah.
Fucking Tommy Lee, dude, because they're different beasts.
Well, I mean, yeah.
They were a shot in the arm. The rock world needed it, you know?
I mean, they've already so many times, surprised people. I mean, look at Nikki Sixx. He died and came back. You know, it was brought back to life. So
literally.
Yeah. Now getting back to
cool.
getting back to you. Now you brought up quite a bit during the interview that you also produced a lot of other acts. I was curious. Did you get into producing kind of like to help kind of make some money on the side and help finance your own career? Because it seems like that's been a pretty pretty good thing that's worked out for you as far as producing other bands.
Right. It was like the singing, man, something that I naturally kind of fell into. I started recording like in a little test console track when I was like 15. And in that time, I just kind of, learned how I knew it went from A to B, but I didn't know how it got there.
Yeah.
I went to, a recording school to kind of put those things together. And when I figured all of that out, it was like, hey man, I'm actually pretty good at this, and I love digging the ditches, and I love hearing a song go from beginning to end, whether it's mine or someone else's. So I did it for fun, record friends bands for fun. I would record, whatever was going on for fun. And then just kind of like, wow, I might be able to make a little bread off this.
Yeah.
So,
and typically,
like the music at the core, it was about really just enjoying it.
Typically, the bands you produce, like, do they approach you about working with them, or do you approach them? I mean, how typically do you find the bands that you work with?
There's some new ones now that that I have kind of picked off. They're really like wanted to work with, they wanted to develop. Before it was friends, again, and recording, get somewhere, figuring out how to get their music done. And then I just kind of jump in. But now I'm kind of at that point where I can find this and really bring them to life, which is very often.
Yeah.
Because that's an extension of what I'm doing musically. I can hear a band and I hear pieces of myself. And then if they are successful, I'm successful. And it's kind of like you're building a legacy without even realizing that you were.
Yeah, and it's kind of like wearing two different hats. But let me ask you, Norman, like, is it easier producing other bands in the sense that you're kind of outside ear, and so being that you're not an actual member of a band, maybe you have a more objective ear as opposed to when maybe you like producing a Murder FM album, because that's your baby, so to speak, so maybe you're a little more critical about how you write and stuff?
It's producing bands is fun in the sense that I can be the bad guy because I don't have to be in the band with them.
Yeah.
I don't have to be in their practice, and I can 100% focus on what's best for that band. When I'm working on a Murder FM record, I'm thinking about me, thinking about my band members, I'm thinking about the manager, I'm thinking about just everything that you can wrap up into a ball that it can be extremely stressful. And, it's a little more carefree. Not that I don't care about someone else's band. It's just a lot easier because I can really deal with the task at hand without having to worry about anything on that, But again, when it's a band that I'm really into, I personally invest a lot of myself into it and go way beyond that. You can hear, as you become a fan of and some of my work, you can hear, those pieces in those bands.
Yeah,
it's really cool.
And like I said, producing other bands, I would imagine, not only is it a great outlet for you, but like you said, maybe it's a little easier in the sense that you can kind of detach yourself, because again, you're not the guy at the heart of the band. You're not the guy writing all the songs. It's like somebody else's work, and you're kind of helping them create their work, get their work out there. And so it's a little more easier because you've kind of got experience that they might not have had. So you're kind of teaching these guys as they go.
Yeah, and you have a clearer perspective.
Yeah.
So you're really able to be a lot more objective.
Yeah.
With them, and really kind of get to the heart of the matter, where it's like it's all business and not so much emotion, at least not at first. And then you teach them along the way, which is what I wished I had when I was coming up in the scene. I don't know if that would have been better or worse for me.
Yeah.
It would have stopped me from doing some things had I had someone showing me the way in that regard. I'm not too sure. But I was able to just kind of really, put a lot of bands on the right path. And I've seen a lot grow.
And so just to let kind of wrap up and let people know who are listening to this, Norman, the new album you guys have coming out, Happily Never After, hits stores August 7th. And you guys, I love the fact that you put out a full-length album rather than like just a 6-song EP. I really love that you guys did that. So once the new album drops, is there a tour in the works, or is that something you guys are currently mapping out right now?
Yeah, there'll be a tour in the works. We've got a lot of different things up in the air. The record drops August 7th. We kick off the tour August 8th at Dirt Fest in Birch Run, Michigan, with a Cold Chamber, Fear Factory, Down, Pop Evil, Periphery. Killer Bill, man. It's almost like an All-Fest reunion. And then we just kick off from there.
And the last thing I got to ask,
definitely be taking over, your town for sure.
Cool.
And definitely coming to Houston.
Yeah. And the last thing I got to ask you about, of course, before I let you go, is how did you get the opportunity to hook up with the legendary Beau Hill, who produced all those great Rat albums, that we all loved back in the 80s. I mean, he's a great guy, and like I said, he produced all those great Rat albums, and Murder FM obviously sounds nothing like Rat, but that just goes to show that how talented this guy is as a producer, but he can work with acts that are that different.
Oh, definitely, man. He's got ears that don't fail.
Yeah.
And you can't argue with the legacy that he's got,
Yeah.
the roster that he's had, and the bands he's managed. And I hooked up with him, honestly, man, out of luck, dude. I was working on the Never Enough record again,
Wow.
trying to figure out who would get to mix the record, because we back with Never Enough, it was like, we want that big sound, man. We want that just, that kick in the gut that we loved when we were 15 years old.
Yeah.
Singers that weren't crying about shit, singers that were going out there and dominating. We were like, I want to be that dude. You know what I mean? We weren't sitting at home in the corner and slitting our wrists. We were out getting in trouble and living life, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was like, who can we get? And somehow it come down to the dude that does the filter records, Bo. And we all were like, dude, let's go with Bo.
Yeah. Wow.
And so we sent him the fax, and the first day that he gets them and he pulls them up in the studio, he's like, hey man, your drums are distorted. And I'm like, yeah, totally, isn't that awesome? Like, oh, they're supposed to be that way?
Wow.
Like, yeah, dude, it's industrial, man. Like, that's what I'm doing, like new school stuff. And so he was like, okay. Started putting the record together, and in the process, he and I became very close. He's like, who wrote all these songs? And I'm like, I did. Keith and I, like, we kind of put the spin on everything together. He's like, well, really? And there was one song in particular that he was a big fan of called Hush. Actually, like an industrial power ballad. And he's like, who wrote Hush? I'm like, dude, that's all me. And he's like, dude, you have got the gift, and you need to keep running with it. And I was like, okay, I guess. It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
Because you can't imagine that after so many years, it's that easy. In the sense of someone that I stared at Bo Hill's name growing up countless times, looking at vinyls and listening to a record with my headphones on. Never in a million years did I think I would be working with him, much less him telling me I've got the gift,
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like we fell into it, man, and we stayed tight from then on. He encouraged me, like I said, to do the Murder FM record. He's like, just get it out. And
wow.
band together, and your band will grow along the way, and you'll figure it out, man.
Yeah.
I'm very hesitant. He probably wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him, because I would have just stopped playing and been like, dude,
Wow.
I'm going to be in paid again, dude, it's out of control.
Yeah.
But I didn't, and so he stepped with us, stayed with us the whole way. He actually was like, you need to be the executive producer this record and mix it, master it, but you need to be listed as a producer because you really are the one that kind of masterminded this whole thing. And it was a really cool, like, passing of the torch kind of thing.
Oh, that, yeah.
Like, he wanted to be listed under me. Like, that's just huge, bro. Like, what?
Yeah, I mean, how cool is that? You would expect typically that a guy, of that magnitude you'd expect him to like be the type of guy to, want to take all the credit. But how cool is that he'd say, man, I want to share a credit with you. That's got to be an awesome feeling.
It's huge, dude. This record is just filled with so many things for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll go down to Sandwich Records doing their thing with Peyton and Sony. I've got Bo Hill having me listen, producer, and I've got Tommy Lee mixing a song. I've got Will from Evanescence on drums. It's just ridiculous.
Wow.
The amount of things that have happened on this record.
Wow. Norman,
My mind.
I just want to say best of luck to you and the band with the new album when it drops August 7th, and I can't wait to see you guys on tour. But I don't think you're gonna need my good wishes. Seems like things are really starting to go, great for the band. And I just want to say thanks so much for taking time to do this interview. I really enjoyed
Thank you, man.
talking to you.
And when the band starts taking off, you got to take credit for yourself too, because you were one of the first ones to get behind this new machine, man. So thank you.
Well, I in all honesty, I thank you for saying that. But I got to just say that. That's the cool thing about like what I do about getting the opportunity to interview bands like you, because like I said, honestly, I'm sitting here telling you that I never heard anything about the band until I got the press release from your publicist, and me and her set up the interview here, and I went on and checked out your music, and I was like instantly, you got a new fan of me, and I think that's great. That's how I discover a lot of great music, and a lot of times people come on my site and they're like, how come everything, every CD or whatever you review, every band you talk to, you tell them how much you love them. Well, to me, I'd much rather like interview and talk to bands that I enjoy than trying to trash bands. Because first of all, I'm a music fan, and so when I'm interviewing these bands, it's from that perspective. And I would much rather be spreading the word about a band like Murder FM that I'm fell in love with the music when I heard it for the first time, as opposed to trashing some band. Because again, I'm not a musician, so to me, anybody that has the ability, that you even got a record deal, that you got the ability to get up on stage and play your songs, I got a certain level of respect for somebody who can do that, because that's something that I can never do. So that's why I love getting the opportunity to interview bands like you, because it gives me an opportunity to hear, discover great new bands, and then I can tell people about it. And that's what it's all about,
That's awesome, man. Thank you so much, dude.
Okay,
I really appreciate it.
Before I go, I just want to say, Norm, maybe when the album drops, we can do this again and we talk more detail about the album. But take care of yourself, and the interview will be going up in about a month or so. I'll let your publicist know the minute it goes up, so you guys can check it out.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. Thank you so much, Jason.
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.